What's up, folks? Marc D'Amico here for Celtics Insiders, here with Celtics Summer League head coach Matt Reynolds. Matt, you got to dive in right away. Talk about a few of the guys on the roster this year. Baylor Scheierman, let's start out with him, number 30 overall pick last year. He certainly looked different at the end of the regular season than he did at the start. What do you think changed most for him during that timeline getting to the end of the season?
Yeah, I'd say, first year in the NBA, there's a lot to learn, both, on the court and just like the rhythm of your season. In college, they'll play 35 to 40 games max, whereas in the NBA, it's, 3-4 games a week. And so just that alone is enough of a variable. And then, you get on the court and you're playing against the best players in the world.
Yeah.
So there's a lot being thrown at new players. And I think Baylor, he's a savvy player. He plays very hard. And, you have those two characteristics and it can kind of, speed up that development process, that learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that's going to show in Vegas. He was here early in June with Jordan and Miles working hard, kind of getting an early look at some of the concepts we're trying to employ out there. But, all three of those guys are super committed to developing and getting better in our system.
One more on Baylor. And when you and the coaching staff get together, and then when you get together with Baylor and you guys are talking about the future, what is the one area of growth that you guys talk about most for him that's going to be like, okay, this is what we want and need for you to do and be able to do next season?
Yeah, I'd say, he got some playmaking responsibility in Maine, but that was never really something he was asked to do with the Celtics. And so, regardless of who he's on the court with, we want him to be either a primary or secondary creator, whether it's, hunting his own offense or finding an open shooter or a cutter, whatever it may be. I think, his crashing, his communication, his positional defense, like he's got all that, every player is looking to continually improve upon. But I'd say out in Vegas, we're looking to see him take on a playmaking role.
All right. From last year's first round pick to this year's first round pick, Ugo Gonzalez. This is a guy who, he's a relative unknown to like most of us. We haven't really gotten to see him play in games. We definitely haven't seen him play in practices like you have. What stands out to you most about this guy that is coming in here? And it seems like the basketball operations group is like really excited about him.
Yeah, I can understand why. The motor that he plays with is something you can't teach. Like he plays very hard, and it's the same thing where Baylor's learning curve this time a year ago, now you're taking somebody who's 19 years old, never played in the States, and we're throwing so many new terms and concepts and whatever at them.
In a foreign language.
Right. No, so you have to be, kind of equal parts understanding of that, while also like, hey man, like this is what we do here. And so I think, his effort is going to make up for any delay in what I don't think the language barrier has been a thing at all. But he is, he's got a great energy about him. And I think, given some time with our players, he was much more comfortable day one or day four than he was day one. And that's just how it's going to go. And so each day we're just looking to see that, everybody, cliche, the game slows down. I don't think he slows down, but I think, how he processes the game, that's going to come along.
Yeah. That being said, about him coming to the U.S., first time being in this environment, all that, he's 19, but he's been a pro technically for a decade, which is crazy. How long have you been at the Celtics?
12 years.
12 years. He's been a pro since he was 9, right, technically, with Real Madrid. Yeah. How does that show through in what you've seen on the court of like, this isn't the first time this guy's been in a professional environment?
Yeah, and sometimes it's just like he makes a play that may not be something we've talked about as like a couple days in practice. There's a rotation that he made where it's just like, that's a guy that knows how to play. Mm-hmm. Like he cracked down for a rotation and deflected the ball, forced a turnover when it was probably going to be a dunk if he doesn't make it. And so things like that, we're just kind of seeing that court sense, and you can tell that that's, people come over from Europe and you see that all the time, let alone, 27, 28-year-olds who played over there and they have all these, cutting principles, so they're used to seeing that stuff. I think the main thing for him is you can just tell that he knows how to play. And then, that's what makes introducing a new concept, pretty easy for him to adapt to, and exciting for us to throw more and more at him.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing him out there in Vegas. Moving on to the next guy, Jordan Walsh. He probably didn't have the season that he was hoping for last year, but here he is coming back, season 3 for the Summer League. And what do you guys want to see out of him? And what is the one area that maybe he can concentrate on that would unlock kind of like that next phase of his career?
Right. I think when he did play early in the season, the effort that he played with was like, that was game changing. You remember a couple games where he's crashing the glass, creating extra possessions for our team. We're not asking him to do anything that he hasn't done during the regular season. He plays incredibly hard. He's a physical player, on-ball hawk. Like, I would say that's the thing that I'm looking to truly accentuate for him, is to pressure the ball and create havoc for the other team. And that's something that I think he's taking ownership of, and it's what we're going to hold him accountable to.
All right, last guy we're going to talk about, and we can't hit on the whole roster, so we're not going to go down every single player on the team, but Amari Williams, right? Another draft pick this year, number 46 overall in the second round. This guy is just a physical freak, 7'6" wingspan. Everyone says that he's a great passer, got the vision. Does the passing live up to the hype? Because that's all we've heard about.
No, and that's, it's the thing where, players know that he's a passer, so all of a sudden guys are just free flying all over the place, hoping to get spoon-fed a layup, and he wants to make plays. So we're going to try to put him in positions to do that. But he can't be, a one-trick pony. We don't want him to just be a passer. We need him to be a screener, a rebounder, all that stuff. So we can't just say that he's a great passer and hope that that's what carries the day for him. We need to put more on his plate as well. He didn't run a whole lot of pick and roll in college. That needs to be something that we give him a lot of reps at.
Only the most important play in all of NBA basketball, right? Well, that being said, like what you told me what you've been giving to him, what maybe has stood out about what he has been doing outside of the passing?
Yeah, so, I'd like to think that we're doing a pretty good job of playing aggressive defense across the board, 1 through 5, and he's a player that allows us to do that. Whether that be protecting the rim, switching out onto a guard, whatever it may be, like, he's a pretty versatile athlete. And again, it's going to be something that we ask him to do, but it's because he's able to do it.
All right, last one here. This is just a general Summer League question. We all look and we're all watching every single thing that happens in Summer League and thinking, oh, that's going to translate to the NBA. It's probably not the case. As a coach and as a head coach of this team, like, what can you take from Summer League that is applicable to what these guys might be doing next year with the Celtics?
It's a good question. I think a lot applies. Like, it may not necessarily translate to like for like, this guy did this in Vegas, he might do this in Summer League. But every game, there's a couple things you see a player do where it's like, whatever role they're in, they can take that and kind of build upon, whether it be an offensive rebound. Like, every team is going to be emphasizing rebounding, crashing, whatever. And that's a skill. And, to me, ball pressure, that to a degree is a skill. Like, effort's a skill. And so we can develop those things. And the opportunity to translate that over, a couple weeks of workouts here and then 4 days of practice, you turn that into game reps, like you're honing all of those skills.
All right, game reps coming up Friday at 4 Eastern. Celtics versus the Grizzlies. That's Matt Reynolds, the head coach of the Summer Celtics. We appreciate the time and congrats on getting the gig, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Look forward to seeing it.
Me too.